You're about to surrender as we speak.
Yeah.
How come?
Because I have nothing to hide. Like, I have nothing to run from.
After turning himself in on May 29, 2019, Lil Durk and King Von would appear before a judge who later found probable cause in the charges brought up against the rappers, meaning that their case would move to trial. Luckily, the two were set free on bond, but all through the trial there was no shortage of insane moments. So, what were the two charged for, and what drama occurred during the trial? Durk turns himself in. 2019 was a big year for Lil Durk and King Von in terms of their music career. Lil Durk dropped his fourth studio album, Love Songs for the Streets 2, which had features from popular artists like 21 Savage, Meek Mill, and Nicki Minaj, and peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200 in the US. On the other hand, Von was just starting out his music career, and in 2019 dropped his very first 13-track mixtape, Grandson Vol. 1. The mixtape did well in the charts as it debuted at number 75 and later peaked at number 53 on the Billboard 200. It also reached number 27 on the hip hop and R&B albums chart and number 9 on the independent album chart. Despite the positive progress that was being felt in their rap careers that year, there was also a dark cloud hanging over them. Together with THF Bezu, the two Chicago rappers found themselves behind bars for an incident that had happened at the beginning of the year.
I just talked to an overnight commander who says the only information they can confirm for us is that a man has been shot and he's been rushed to the hospital.
Just before 6 a.m. on February 5th, 2019, shots were fired in the parking lot of the Varsity, a popular restaurant located in Midtown Atlanta. Cops responded to the incident within minutes and found a 23-year-old man wounded outside a vehicle in the parking lot. The 23-year-old was later identified as Alexander Weatherspoon and had suffered a gunshot wound to his leg. According to witnesses, Weatherspoon stumbled across the road before collapsing in front of the One Cigar Lounge. Luckily, customers swiftly called 911 and he was taken to Atlanta Medical Center in serious condition. Luckily, Alexander Weatherspoon survived the ordeal. Witnesses also told the authorities that an SUV with 300 plastered on the side was seen speeding away from the scene after the shots were fired. Investigators discovered 13 shell casings from a pistol and a rifle in the parking lot. A 9mm handgun was also recovered at the crime scene. According to witnesses interviewed at the scene, Weatherspoon appeared to be in a verbal dispute with another man before shots rang out. 3 months later, the first suspect would be arrested. On May 4th, 2019, King Von was arrested in Chicago on charges related to the shooting outside the Varsity. Just 9 days later, Chicago rapper Bezu was also arrested in Chicago. The final suspect in the case also found himself behind bars in dramatic fashion, and this was the first insane moment of the entire case. On May 29, 2019, the Atlanta Police Department issued an arrest warrant for Lil Durk in connection with the shooting. The next day, the Chicago rapper announced that he would be turning himself in. When the warrant was issued, Durk was on tour and was forced to cancel everything and go straight to Atlanta. The rapper took to social media to give his fans an update where he posted a photo with the caption, "Turning myself in tomorrow." Fellow artist Chance the Rapper offered support by commenting on the post saying, "Hold your head, brother." Durk then went to the studio and recorded a record titled Turn Myself In. The next day, the rapper wasted no time as he tried to get ahead of the narrative and show the world that he was innocent. He camped at his lawyer's office where he granted WSB-TV an interview regarding his imminent arrest. In the interview, the rapper revealed that he would surrender to the authorities that same day. According to him, he had nothing to hide and had no reason to run.
You're about to surrender as we speak.
Yeah.
How come?
Because I have nothing to hide. Like, I have nothing to run from.
It turns out, the rapper had 5 charges to his name. These included criminal attempt to commit murder, aggravated assault, unlawful association with criminal street gang to conduct or participate in crime, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Lil Durk maintained his innocence and also denied committing any of the 5 charges leveled against him.
Did you do it? Did you shoot this man? Did you commit the other crimes of which you're accused?
No.
According to Durk, he had a rough upbringing as his father was in jail for more than 25 years. Durk also revealed that he had grown up around gangs, but had left that life behind when he moved from Chicago to Atlanta.
I had a bad background, just growing up as a child, about father being incarcerated for 25 years, 26 years. So I had a rough past, but like me moving to Atlanta, I just thought that just changed my whole identity of thinking.
The rapper then proceeded to surrender himself to authorities at the Fulton County Jail the same day. When Durk and Von finally appeared before a judge, there were many insane details revealed. It turns out that the rappers had robbed Alexander Weatherspoon of a gold chain and $30,000 before shooting him. Apart from that, they also stole the victim's vehicle. Von and Durk were already making it big in their respective rap careers that it was insane to think that they were out here robbing people. Also, Jeffrey Churchill, a detective from the Atlanta Police Department, took to the stand where he revealed that he had spoken with a witness who was with the two rappers the night of the shooting. According to the female witness, a fight broke out in a car that was in front of them. She then saw Durk pull out a firearm, which forced her to run around the building where she heard shots fired. She later saw the victim in a pool of blood. It is important to note that she had not seen who had fired first, since 2 guns were discharged that night. The most damning evidence against Lil Durk was also revealed. According to the detective, they had obtained surveillance footage showing Durk's hand sticking out of the SUV and firing his weapon at Weatherspoon.
You see Mr. Banks' arm out the window firing several shots at the victim, towards the victim.
However, Durk's defense was on hand to challenge the video evidence. According to the rapper's lawyer, the CCTV footage did not show the rapper pulling the trigger. To top it all off, prosecutors wanted the case treated as gang-related and had a Chicago police captain confirm that Vaughn and Durk were members of the Black Disciples gang. A judge would later find probable cause in the charges brought up against the rappers, meaning that the case would move to trial. Lil Durk seemed deep in trouble with this case. The rapper had cause to be worried. The attempted murder charge was a pretty serious offense and carried 20 years behind bars. It was unlike any other case he had dealt with before. With witnesses and surveillance footage available against him, things were not looking up for Durk, but the drama and insane moments of the case had only just begun. Released on bond. It seems Lil Durk's stunt worked. By turning himself in, he had gained favor with the judge despite protests from the prosecutors to have him denied bond. According to the judge, the charges against Durk were serious, but he noted that the rapper had turned himself in and didn't appear to have taken any steps to dodge an arrest warrant. Durk had even brought out his pastor to vouch for him. "I've known Derek in a very tense environment in Chicago, and I've never witnessed him lashing out," said Banks's pastor from Chicago. "It's always been smiles and it's always been jokes. He's always been a good character. There's no way I would come from Chicago and speak on his behalf if I thought there would be any type of risk, and I definitely wouldn't want to ruin my name by vouching for him." In the end, he was granted a $250,000 bond. However, he was released under very strict terms. First, the rapper was prohibited from being anywhere near a weapon. Apart from that, he was also given a strict curfew. He was to be in the house from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day. Also, he was strictly not to attempt to intimidate any witness. Lastly, the Chicago rapper was required to wear an ankle monitor at all times. King Von was also later granted a $300,000 bond and released. He was also given the same strict conditions as Durk, meaning that they could not be around each other. Their release brought to question how much evidence the prosecution really had on the incident. Remember, they said that they had video evidence as well as witnesses who could put the two behind bars. They had even brought a cop from Chicago to try to convince the judge not to let the two go, as they were part of a violent gang. It is also very fishy, since YNW Melly also surrendered to the cops after his arrest warrant was issued, but he stayed in jail for more than 4 years, waiting for his trial to start. On the 12th of February 2019, Melly took to Instagram to inform his fans that he would be turning himself in to authorities as well as denying all allegations against himself and Bortman. In the now deleted Instagram post, Melly wrote, "To all my fans and supporters, know I did not get locked up in Washington, but I am turning myself in today. I want you guys to know I love you and appreciate every single one of y'all. A couple months ago, I lost my 2 brothers by violence, and now the system wants to find justice. Unfortunately, a lot of rumors and lies are being said, but no worries, God is with me and my brother Bortman, and we want y'all to remember it's a YNW family. I love you, Sack Chaser and Juvie." Immediately after his surrender, cops put out a statement saying, "Jamel Demons, aka YNW Melly and Cortland Henry, have been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., were killed on the 26th of October 2018. The investigation, supported by forensic evidence, has concluded that Demons shot and killed Williams and Thomas Jr., and that Demons and Henry staged the crime scene to resemble a drive-by shooting. YNW Melly was in jail for the murders of his 2 best friends, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser, the previous year. After allegedly shooting and killing them, he and YNW Bortland shot up the car and made it look as if they had been involved in a drive-by shooting. Bortland then drove the bodies to a nearby hospital. A few days after turning himself in and appearing before a judge, he was denied bond. A few months later, his legal team filed for the rapper to be released on bond, citing various reasons. For one, the rapper had self-surrendered to the cops the same day the arrest warrant was issued. Apart from that, Melly's team argued that the rapper had never purposefully missed a court date and he was not a flight risk. The defendant poses no flight risk, as he knew what the charges were pending against him, and he still chose to self-surrender, the documents read. If he wanted to run, he would have ran when learning of the misidentification of the other individual that was arrested at the venue in the District of Columbia. It turns out that after the arrest warrant was issued, cops had ended up arresting someone misidentified as Melly. His lawyers argued that if he was going to take advantage of the possibility of leaving the state, he would have already done so. In a voice message shared to his Instagram account at the time, Melly told fans and family that he was expecting to be coming home soon. However, after 5 long years, he was still behind bars. One can make the case that Melly's crime was more egregious than what Von and Durk had allegedly done, and that was the reason Melly had been denied bond. However, the two Chicago rappers had shot, robbed, and left a man for dead, making their crime equally terrible. Another rapper who has found himself being denied bond over and over again is Young Thug. On May 9th, 2022, Young Thug, Gunna, and 26 others were named gang members in a grand jury indictment. The 88-page grand jury indictment alleged 182 instances of the group participating in gang activity. The RICO against YSL members had a list of 56 charges, which included murder, attempted murder, armed robbery, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, theft, drug selling, carjacking, and witness intimidation. Although Thug was not facing murder charge, his actions while behind bars may have led to the judge denying the rapper bond. The prosecution portrayed the rapper as the one calling the shots and painted him as the most dangerous of all the arrested YSL members.
He's the one directing traffic.
According to the prosecution, the rapper was extremely dangerous, and giving him bail would jeopardize the case.
He is the one they're all afraid of. He's the one that's King Slime. He's pulling the shots. He is the most dangerous of the 28, Judge.
More evidence was released by the prosecution showing that both YSL members indicted and those not indicted in the charges had expressed their fear of Young Thug.
That we have taken proffers from fellow from Mr. Williams. Some are on this indictment, some are not. They have stated uniformly that Mr. Williams is dangerous. They are afraid of him.
But this was not the most damning evidence against the rapper. According to the prosecution, the rapper had sent a clear message to everyone. Cooperating with the cops would lead to their deaths and the death of their family.
That if they cross him, he will them and their family.
Thug even proved that he was capable of affecting the lives of those who crossed even while in jail. Fellow rapper Gunna was the first one to experience Thug's wrath after he made a deal with prosecutors. The rapper's plea saw him initially sentenced to 5 years with 1 year served. However, a judge commuted the 1 year sentence to time served and suspended the 4 year remaining balance subject to conditions, including 500 hours of community service. Overall, the deal meant that Gunna would be a free man.
The deal that set Gunna free, a major development in a huge racketeering case. The Atlanta-born rapper, Gunna, whose given name is Sergio Kitchens, made a deal with prosecutors and walked out of the Fulton County Jail.
First, Thug unfollowed Gunna on social media. That was the green light that he did not approve of Gunna's action. The industry then went ahead to treat Gunna like an outcast. Lil Baby, who is also Gunna's best friend, also unfollowed him on Instagram. Apart from that, hip-hop sensation Lil Durk sneak dissed him in a song. Everyone was calling Gunna a rat, a label that is dreaded in the hip-hop community because it can destroy one's careers. Such actions from Young Thug have seen him denied bond repeatedly. As it turns out, granting Von and Durk bond was a bad idea, as it led to two insane events that defined the case's outcome. It is worth noting that Durk had made it in the rap industry before Von and knew how to conduct himself. On the other hand, Von was not used to the limelight. He was still the guy from the hood. This would see him get himself into situations that would easily see him locked up again. With Durk by his side, he might not have found himself in these tricky situations. In fact, Durk has saved Von from saying too much in an interview. While on The Breakfast Club, Durk coughed to signal to Von to stop talking lest he implicate himself. Von then looked at Durk as an awkward silence ensued. However, Von knew exactly what Durk meant.
No experience is doing nothing. I ain't, you know?
Word.
So what were the insane moments that Von found himself in during the trial? FBG Duck's death. The most insane moment of the trial had to be the death of FBG Duck. The details of the case are so bizarre that to this day, more information is still being uncovered by the feds. At first, all the evidence pointed to King Von. However, recent reports suggest that Lil Durk was also connected to FBG Duck's murder.
It was a Chicago rapper who was gunned down here on one of Chicago's ritziest streets. They say 2 other people were also shot when 4 gunmen, witnesses say, jumped out of cars and fired from just a few feet away.
On August 4th, 2020, news broke out that FBG Duck had been shot and killed at Michigan Avenue and East Oak Street in the Gold Coast area of Chicago. It was evident that the rapper had been murdered. First, it was done in broad daylight and in one of the most luxurious streets in Chicago. Second, he was not robbed. From the very start, people speculated that it was a gang-related hit. It did not take cops long to make arrests in connection with the shooting, and it was no surprise that the people arrested were all O Block members. O Block is a sect within the infamous Black Disciples Gang, or BDs. FBG FBG Duck was in a rival gang known as the Gangster Disciples Gang, or GDs. The two are sworn enemies and are often involved in shooting and killing each other. Among the most famous deaths for the gangs were Odie Perry for the BDs and Tuka for the GDs. As it so happens, it is alleged that FBG Duck was involved in Odie Perry's murder. Apparently, he was the getaway driver that night OD was shot killed by the GDs. However, for some time their enmity had shifted from the streets to music as both sides released diss tracks towards the other. While the BDs had successful rappers such as Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and King Von, the GD's rap poster child was Duck. FBG Duck went hard on his ops in his music. For example, in the remix to Exposing Me, FBG Duck savagely goes after O-Block's dead legends such as Odie Perry, T-Roy, and She-Roy. In one part he sings, T-Roy ain't get shot inside his head, but he ain't make it though. They got so many dead I don't know who to smoke. In another part he raps, your homie, he dead, you heard what I said. Sheroid, Odie, D-Thang, and Tirehead. This is what got him killed. At least that was the reason one O-Block revealed in a classic case of self-snitching. Before the O-Block members were arrested, they invited a vlogger, Panda Productions, into their stronghold. Interestingly, viewers easily pointed out in the comments section that they could spot the car that had been used in Duck's murder. Later in the video, Boss Top decided to answer questions from the vlogger and ended up cracking the case wide open.
So do you got any, I don't want to, stir up nothing, but do you got any thoughts on FBG Duck, any thoughts on him? Did you know him? Who, Duck? Did you know him before, everything?
Boss Top seemed to imply that Duck had crossed the line when he mentioned one of O-Block's most beloved who had been shot and killed.
Everything?
Like that, I don't know. On game. All I know, don't say that about Troy, or rest in peace, Duck. Don't say about Troy. That's it.
This is where King Von comes in. After Von died, police documents showed that someone had put a $50,000 bounty on Duck's head. However, no one was willing to do it. The informant further revealed that the same individual had bumped up his offer to $100,000. Someone from O-Block was willing to part ways with $100,000 in exchange for someone's death. Who wanted Duck dead so bad? The next piece of information from the feds will help answer these questions, since the police documents did not mention who the individual was. Turns out that the said person had rewarded the killers with custom-made O-Block chains. Well, it so happens that there was a video online of Von giving O-Block members custom-made chains. Boss Top also confirmed this in the Panda Productions video.
This ain't no chain. This like, it's like a trophy to it. This our brother, This more than the chain.
It is important to remember that the chains were handed out after Duck was killed. The chains may have been part of their reward. Also, T-Roy has often been mentioned as being King Von's best friend. Had Von been so pissed at the diss that he decided to have Duck killed, it is not beyond the realms of possibility, as he was a rap star and definitely had $100,000 to splash. There is also wide speculation that the informant who revealed all this information to the feds was none other than King Von's little brother, Louis V. Documents from the feds showed that the snitch had been arrested for unlawful use of a weapon on the 17th of August 2020. Unfortunately, no one else close to Von or even from O-Block was arrested on the same day or on the same charge. That left only Louis V, who fit the description in the police documents. Apart from that, he also could have known of Von's move on FBG Duck. So where does Lil Durk fit into all this? It all stems from the people who were arrested in connection to the shooting. These were Charles Liggins, aka C. Murda, Kenneth Robertson, aka Kenny Mack, to Carlos Offord, aka Loss, Christopher Thomas, aka C. Thang, and Marcus Smart, aka Muwap. The five were charged with murder, unlawful use of firearms, racketeering, and assault with dangerous weapons. The charges carried a mandatory minimum of life upon conviction. There was even talk of the prosecution seeking the death penalty. Documents surfaced showing that Durk is a person of interest to the feds. In the document, there are multiple witnesses ready to testify that Durk is a high-ranking member of the Black Disciples gang. It looks like Durk may get himself entangled in a RICO case. After the arrest of the O-Block members in connection to FBG Duck's death, the feds may have started preparing a RICO that would take down the BDs. Popular hip-hop commentator DJ Academics noted that the feds became particularly invested in the case because there was money involved. Most Chirac murders and gang-related shootings rarely saw people arrested or even hit with RICO cases. This is because people never wanted to talk to cops and there was never money involved. The war between the BDs and GDs was caused by pure hatred of each other. For them, settling their differences using guns was far more important. Even Chicago's mayor, Lori Lightfoot, commented on the situation, saying, "What we're seeing seeing is a manifestation of a larger problem, which is that way too many young men, and particularly young men of color, have access to guns and are willing to use those guns to settle petty grievances. And now, since money had entered the chat with the 100,000 bounty on Duck, the feds were now involved. RICO cases are common when dealing with New York gangs because they normally involve money. The Von and Duck saga shows that King Von had graduated from going after his ops by himself. After becoming a public figure, he had found it hard to kill his ops and may have sought other people's services. What is shocking is that he did this while still fighting another case. Perhaps Durk would have advised Von from putting out the hit had they been together. The next insane incident that Von would get himself into proved deadly and may have been avoided had he been around someone with experience in the industry such as Lil Durk. King Von's death. It is no secret that Von was involved in some insane incidents throughout the trial. Duck's death might have been the worst. However, he was involved in another incident that would prove tragic, an incident that would end with the O-Block rapper losing his life. The events that led up to his death were so bizarre that to date, people close to him cannot fully explain what happened. November 5th, 2020, Von and his entourage flew from New York to Atlanta, where he was set to have an album release party. King Von had just released his first album, Welcome to O-Block. His entourage included his manager, 100K Track, his armed security, and more than 15 guys from O-Block, Von's hood in Chicago. With an entourage of about 25 cars, the group headed to Opium nightclub in Atlanta for the album release party. However, after the release party, things started to go south. Von and his manager operated on schedules that had been well planned beforehand. They always followed a routine, but that night, Von did not follow protocol. Von's entourage knew that after leaving the club, they would all be heading back to their rented Airbnb and call it a night. However, Von took a detour and headed for Hookah Lounge, a club that, according to Von's manager, had not paid Von to make an appearance. The rapper got into his bulletproof vehicle and instructed his driver to head to Hookah Lounge without security. Concerned that they were at the club's parking lot alone, Von's DJ called 100K Track, who instructed everyone to head to the club. Having grown up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Chicago, everyone knew Von was always on top of his game when it came to security. He knew how to move and avoid getting caught lacking by his ops. However, that night, the rapper threw all caution to the wind. When the rest of the guys got to Von's location, the story got even more insane. Everyone thought that Von would have already been in the club. To their surprise, Von had been in the car, which was in the parking lot, for almost 30 minutes. It was almost as if he was waiting for someone or something to happen. When the rest of the guys got there, Von and Track agreed to enter the club, and security was ordered to conduct routine checks to ensure that it was safe for them to get inside. While Track and Von were waiting to get the final clearance from the security guards, one of Von's homeboys came up to the driver's side and notified Von that he had just seen Quando Rondo in the parking lot. In a split second, Von was out of the car and heading toward Quando's direction. This would prove to be the gravest mistake Von would make. Quando Rondo was signed to NBA Youngboy's label. At the time, Von and Youngboy had been beefing behind the scenes. Since Quando Rondo was directly affiliated to Youngboy, he was already considered an op. Surprisingly, barely 24 hours before this incident, Von was in an interview with DJ Academics and had confirmed that he and Youngboy were not beefing. However, this was not consistent with his actions later, as he went ahead to attack a rapper affiliated with Youngboy. Well, according to Von's manager, Youngboy and Von's labels had exchanged words in the past. Von had even gone ahead and told his people that if he ever met any of Youngboy's people, he would treat them like a little boy. Von had set his mind on beating up anyone affiliated to Youngboy. This is yet one of the many insane things Von did during his trial, assaulting people for no reason and out in the open, a move that would easily result in him getting his bond revoked and back in jail. But the Chicago rapper was known to throw caution to the wind when it came to dealing with his ops. What is even more surprising is that Quando and Von appeared to be cool with each other, as a video posted by Von a year earlier surfaced of them clowning 63rd Street, a rival to O-Block. At this point, Quando was on his way to the club. Von, with a few members of his crew behind him, proceeded to attack Quando, knocking him to the ground. Von's guys joined in and started raining blows and kicks on the NBA-affiliated rapper as he tried in vain to get away from his attackers. Suddenly, one of Quando's homeboys, who was later identified as Lil Tim, came to his rescue. He suddenly appeared from behind Quando's vehicle with a gun in hand and started letting off shots. Unfortunately, Von was hit on his torso. After watching the CCTV footage of the altercation, many fans criticized Von's homeboys for running away from the situation and failing to protect Von. It turns out that there were two off-duty police officers near the area when Lil Tim started shooting. When the first shots were heard, the cops started shooting uncontrollably. Since it was dark and the shooters could not be seen, everyone ran away at first. Von was put in a vehicle by his guys and rushed to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, those in the car with him panicked while Von stayed calm. According to his manager, Von tried to calm everyone who was in the car with him. In fact, from the way Von carried himself during the ride to the hospital, everyone thought that he was not fatally wounded and that he would survive the ordeal. Although he was alive when he arrived at the hospital, Track revealed revealed that he died during surgery. The last insane thing that happened during the trial came at the very end when news broke out that Lil Durk's charges had been dropped. That was not the most shocking part. It turns out that Von would not have beaten the charge. In a statement released by the DA, Mrs. Fonnie Willis, if co-defendant Davon Bennett, aka King Von, had not died in 2020, he would have been indicted for this incident. Something did not add up. All through the trial, the evidence pointed towards Durk being the shooter. From the witness to the CCTV footage, Durk was at the center stage. However, after the death of Von, the cops were now sure that the O-Block rapper had done it. It led many people to speculate that Durk had done the unthinkable. Had Lil Durk snitched on his dead friend? Well, people in the industry seem to think so. One such person was controversial figure Charleston White.
Durk and Lil Baby, they unfollowed Gunna.
Lil Durk told on King Von. That's how he beat his charges.
Former O-Block member Jay Hood strongly believed that Durk told on Von. According to him, if Durk was present when Von committed the crime yet he did not report it, Durk would also face the same consequences even if he did not commit the crime. Therefore, for him to have all his charges dropped, he must have given the authorities some information.
If I'm with you, we do something, you don't report it, but you know I did it, and you don't report it, we go on about our life. You as liable as to the case as I am. What I'm finna go down for, you finna go down for, unless when you get in this behind these doors, you tell me something that I don't know. And then probably a little bit more.
It is important to note that there was no paperwork to show that Durk had snitched. A lot of things did not add up in the case, leading to people believing that he had done it. Well, the entire trial was filled with drama from start to finish. From assassinations to snitching allegations, hip-hop fans were glued to the entire case. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.